How y'all traders doing? It's the Trading Night with Trading Conviction here with an update. So make a decision, create a plan, and take action. Let's go.
No need to clocking cause I'm working overtime. Working overtime. Working overtime. No need to clocking cause I'm working overtime. Intoxicated boy, no sober rhymes.
In today's news, there ain't too much on the docket, but coming up this week is speeches from FOMC members Bowman, Williams, Waller, and Fed Governor Cook. OPEC Plus plans to cut more output. I just saw that on one of the articles. I have to do more research to see if this is true or not, but that's what I saw. Oil exports from northern Iraq to Turkish port CN remain at a standstill because of an arbitration case. Ruled Ankara owed Baghdad compensation for unauthorized exports, so that might put more pressure on oil prices. Moving on to the charts, not too many changes. I'm thinking about adding to a position about 2.5k to 5k if price hits 376 to keep stop above the 378 level. Hey, I'm just gonna go in, place another position even if price moves higher, because I move my stop accordingly, keep it over 378, and if it hits, and then I'll reassess and rebuild. I might rebuild, see if I can rebuild at the 385 level, go a little bit more aggressively because of the thoughts of the Fed hiking rates some more. Things are weird in the market, it's all mixed, so it's all jumbled up. I'll see what happens, but if that's the case, might as well do that. And if it holds, better for me because I'll gain more rollover interest. Price will push back into my favor if it doesn't hit my stop, and I'll be closer to hitting my objective 2, and then from there I even build it at a better price. Instead of 375, I'll build it at 376, which is even better. Then I can move on to objective 3 and go on from there. My HKD position, well, not my HKD position, but my HKD entry is still holding strong. Price is still trading up here at the band up there. Nothing more on these charts. Let's go on to the next ones. So over here we got the US dollar. It's pushing up higher, nearing the 102. So I'm saying everything's all crazy. It could be forming a double bottom, which if that's the case, price is going to shoot extremely high, which goes along the lines of people thinking that 5% inflation, CPI inflation printing from last week could possibly be a fluke, or there could be more turmoil on the euro side and so on. So we'll see what happens there. Silver pushing lower, push below the 25.50 level. We got gold pushed a little bit higher, still holding above the 2000, almost pushed down lower, and almost held below the 2000 last week, but managed to climb higher. Got the Dow Jones future still being weird, trading above the 34,000 level. We got oil holding above the 82 level. Moving on to the economic calendar, we got some stuff on tap. The ECB president speaks on Monday at the RBA meetings. We got core CPI coming out from Canada. We got on Wednesday the Great Britain pound and the euro, so the UK and the eurozone coming out with their CPI. If the UK comes out with a 10% or higher, that thing's gonna go probably a little bit crazy. Who knows? Yeah, probably a little bit crazy. Push the Great Britain pound probably to 24.50, maybe 25, and the euro, if that comes out at 7%, higher than 6.9%, right, it's gonna push that euro above on 1.1050. NZD also comes out with the CPI data. Looks like the quarter over quarter is at 1.8%. It's gonna increase a little bit, and the euro publishes its minutes on, not the euro, but the ECB publishes its minutes on Thursday, and not much else going on. The manufacturing data coming out on Friday. The Fed rate monitor hasn't updated since Friday, so we'll see tomorrow. In today's news, we got the RBA minutes show the central bank considered hiking for the 11th time before deciding to pause, but was ready to tighten further if inflation and demand failed to cool. The head of the Bank of International Settlements, Augustin Karstein, warned that high interest rates may need to stay longer due to high inflation. The G7 coalition will keep a $60 barrel per day price cap on seaborne Russian oil. Some countries call for a lower price cap to reduce the revenue that Moscow gets. New York Fed said its barometer of manufacturing activity in New York State increased, which pushes the case for more rate hikes. Interesting. Moving on to the charts. Nothing really going on. Let me go down really quick. The euro is pushing close to the 1.09 right after hitting the 1.10. Might keep pushing down lower with the Fed rate hikes, but who knows? Depending on what's going on and the thoughts of recession, maybe it'll push up higher. I mean, the ECB is still planning on rate hikes. The GBP, it's pushed down lower below the 1.24. Might keep pushing down lower. We'll see what the CPI does when it comes out Wednesday. The JPY is pushing up higher. It's a good thing I got out. It's at 134.55, which could possibly push higher because of the Fed rate hikes and with the divergence between the BOJ still and the Federal Reserve. New Zealand dollars pushed down below the 0.62 level. We'll see if the calls for potentially more rate hikes or them staying on that side, kind of being hawkish. If it's going to push it up higher. We got the GBP CAD. It's pushing down lower. It's at below 1.66. We'll see if it stays below there. It didn't push to the 1.70 like I thought, and I am out of it. But the reason being is because I'm not staying in that pair naked like I am on the E-Hub. Well, the E-Hub's not really naked. I do have a stop on it, but not getting into it right now. GBP Chef could possibly hit the 1.10. We'll see what happens with the CPI data again coming out on Wednesday. And the E-Huff, which I got right here, look at that. I built up to my 40K position. I got to stop at 376.951 at break even. My objective one, of course, receiving over $10 a day, which is completed. Objective 1, receiving over $10 a day is completed. Look at that. Objective 2, build to 40K, average of 375, which is way better than 375, of course, completed. Objective 3, price did pull down below a low of 370.96. That'd be cool if it stood there, but it didn't. Price moved below 372 and the stop above 375, which that is the case. I hit 2 objectives in one day, which is good. My next objective, which is going to be interesting, is to build to a 100K position, which if this pushes down lower about 370, I'm likely to get in another pair, and I think that'll push my average to around little above 375. Maybe add it, depending on how much I put it. Either I put a 10K or a 5K. But I do want to build to that 100K, so that next one the next one will be 50K. But right now, everything's looking good on here. Moving on to the other charts. We got the USD above 102 with the Federal rate hikes probability increasing. That is why it's at 102. We'll see what the earnings seasons bring, and we'll see if thoughts on a federal rate, on another rate hike, stays at levels where it's at right now when I show you the Fed rate monitoring too. Silver is above 25, right? It might push down lower with the USD pushing up higher. Same thing with gold. Gold is holding above 2,000, like it pushed down lower yesterday. We'll see if it manages to still hold above 2,000. Dow Jones futures holding above 34,000, even with the thoughts of a rate hike. So I'm just saying, the markets are like mixed. We got oil still above $80. Of course, it makes sense. It's pushed down lower because the USD is pushing up higher. We'll see if that holds at $80. And with the thought of China coming out of COVID, and then people thinking that most of the demand is coming out from China, oil might be able to push up higher. But I think the data over there in China is skeptical. So again, we'll see. All right, moving on to the economic calendar. Not too much went on yesterday. Right, RBA meetings came out. They're still planning on more rate hikes, so it's going to be determined on if inflation or CPI data. Yeah, inflation, CPI data pushes up higher or not. Tomorrow we got core CPI from Canada. Nothing else really on the docket until Wednesday. Fed rate monitoring, look at this, 84.6%. So almost 100% calls for a 25 basis point hike. And May is almost around the corner, about 2 weeks. So could happen, but the main thing is moving on to June 14th. Like standing pat 25 basis at 5.25. Same thing in July. Let's see, September. Looks like there might be a rate reduction by 25 basis points. Yep. And then another rate reduction in December 13 calls at 35.4% for a 25 basis points rate reduction, bringing rates to 4.50, 4.75. So we'll see if that is the case. We're going back to my other charts, seeing how I stood here too long. In today's news, we got Federal Reserve's Beige Book is due later on Wednesday, which is expected to give more clues on how the central banks views the current state of the economy. Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic said the Fed has one more interest rate hike. St. Louis Fed President James Bullard said the Fed ought to keep raising rates to subdue persistent inflation. One is saying that they want to eventually pause or just want to do one and then pause, and then the other one saying that they want to keep raising rate hikes. This is why the market is mixed, and even without that, it still seems like the market is mixed. And then we got Fed Governors Christopher Waller speaks on Thursday and Lisa Cook speaks on Friday. So we'll see what those two say. Moving on to my charts, not too much going on. The Euro Huff pushed in my favor a little bit and managed to push below the 370, but could not hold and push higher. Right now it's trading at 371.45, a little below the 371.50. So we'll see if it pushes down lower. If it does push up higher, it'll be interesting to see if my stop is going to hold since it's at 376. If not, that means stuff is waning and it's not following what I'm thinking anymore, and I'm likely stay out and see what the next pair is the best to get into, or if the HEUF is still good, might put an entry around like 385 or so, or maybe 380 and see what happens from there. But for now, if it is able to hold and pushes down lower, it ingrains my position even more, stating that I am in a good spot, and I might even, like, if it pushes up to 374, I'll probably just go in with another 10k, and hey, I'm gonna be in hope mode anyway, so I'm gonna hope that my stop holds at the new level, because if I just keep it at the level it is right now, I'm at a smaller position hoping that it's not gonna hit, and I'd rather just add to the position and just hope from there to see if my stop will hold. And if my stop does hold at 50k instead of 40k, again, it further ingrains that my position is correct and that I am right on my speculation that price is going to push lower. I looked at some news to see if it was in there, but there's not too much news on the Euro Huff. So moving on from there, we got the HKD, which nothing changed right here. Price is still holding at the upper band at 785, like it did push down a little bit lower, but no real changes there. Moving on to the other charts, we got the USD pushed down lower, pushed below the 102, trading above the 101.50. So nothing new going on there. We got the silver futures trading above the 25 level. Might push lower depending if the dollar gets stronger or not. We got gold trading above 2,000 still. We'll see what happens with the next Federal Reserve speeches, which might still keep going above 2,000. These earnings seasons are coming out fairly decent, so I don't know. I don't even know how, with increased rate hikes and so on, that is still happening. Because if you go over here to the Dow Jones futures, price is still trading above 34,000. So again, it is mixed, and then you got recession thoughts and so on. I haven't drawn the pattern, but there looks to be an ascending wedge, which could push price lower. But with things mixed, those patterns might just keep falling. So might not be a good idea to trade them for now. And then we got oil futures still trading above the 80. If it breaks down below that, it'll probably start closing this gap and hit the 75 level. And if that's the case, that would mean that USD is probably going to push above the 102, maybe hit 102.50. Moving on to the economic calendar, what we got over here is the core CPI for the Bank of Canada pushed above the forecast to 0.6%, with forecast is 0.4%, which will that cause them to hike rates? Probably not. Moving on to Wednesday, we got a slew of CPI data coming out. So we'll see if that moves the GBP higher or lower. Again, if it comes above 10%, then of course Bank of England is going to be in a tough spot. And if the euro push is 10% or higher, again, the ECB is going to remain hawkish with likely more rate increases. And you got the NZD CPI 1.7%. We'll see if that pushes higher or if it goes lower. But they're still on track to raise interest rates more if needed. Moving on from there, federal rate monitoring, not too much of a change. It did go down a little bit from 85.2% to 80%, but it is still high. And from that 25 basis points, we'll see when the actual meeting comes out, if they're hawkish or they try to be dovish. Alright, this is going to be a pretty quick update. So here's my charts. Not going to do nothing else. I'll tell you what happened so far. I haven't recorded the other 2 days because my position was exited at 376.976. Price hit my stop. Not sure why it pushed up higher. So you can see right there, it did push low. It was trading about 371. Tempted to push down a little bit lower, but did not hold, and somehow whipsawed 715 pips against me, knocking me out of my position. Of course, it pulls back down a little bit, trading just below the 376. I am not getting in because I have things coming up that's gonna prevent me from monitoring my trades, and I don't even know if I want to get back into this pair. I mean, I might, but I want to wait till price pushes up a little bit higher. I got some other plans that I think of implementing, which has to do with the USD HKD. But for now, since I got things going on, I will recess when I return in June time frame. From there, I will look at rebuilding. If not, then I got other things going on, and I just hit this thing like twice. And that's all for now. Y'all traderites, have some good trading out there. Believe in yourself, have faith in your potential, trust that it can happen, and remember, it's only fiction without conviction. Trading night out.